With that primal problem solved for good, I returned to the Waking Sands for a debrief. Minfilia and Thancred gave me an explanation of how primals are summoned when times are bad. And they also explained how primals will gain more power by tempering mortals to worship them more fervently. That's been the nature of primals for some time, but Thancred suspects that something new is happening. He thinks to detect some kind of plan, which, if he'd thought a bit harder earlier, maybe he'd have detected the plan to kidnap and sacrifice me to a god. While Minfilia amused herself by staring at the wall, Thancred told me a nasty secret. Tempered folk can't be healed, so they have to be executed. Maybe one day there will be another way, and pigs might fly. Immediately after Thancred left, Minfilia told me that thanks to my efforts as envoy and god pummeler, the grand companies of the city-states wanted to recruit me. And maybe the best way for me to decide which one to join would be to attend the memorial services I had helped to organise, which were due to start any time now. I noted that my pal Merle has been chatting about me to the sailors of the Maelstrom, so my first stop was the service in Limsa, where she gave a rousing speech about the nice red flag.
Our mighty crimson standard. And tell me your hearts do not swell with pride.
Then the weird twins showed up. The boy twin made some sardonic comments, while the girl one maintained a rugged silence. Next I went to Uldar, where General Rauban made a speech about getting rich and giving money to the immortal flames.
Line not your own coffers, but those of the immortal flames!
He was accompanied by the little Sultana, who jumped up on his shoulder to give a speech of her own. The twins were there again, and Blue Alfie talked about the refugee crisis a bit, and then left with his sister. I went to the final service in Gridania, where the Seed Seer spouted some spiritual stuff about the elementals and peaceful resistance in the face of Garlean forces.
In accordance with the will of the elementals, we have embraced a life of peace.
Girl Alfie made a sarcastic comment of her own here, and then Boy Alfie explained the local situation with the elementals in more detail. With that, the services were done, and it was time for me to make my choice back at the Waking Sands. While I headed to Limsa to sign up with the store, the two Alfies were having a pint and a row at the Hourglass.
Whatever do you mean, dear sister?
The so-called remembrance ceremonies were little more than standard waving rallies.
Well, of course they were standard waving rallies. Since you are so observant, mayhap you noticed what mention was made of the Warriors of Light? None. So, the task of salving Eorzea's wounds falls to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, with a little help from our friends, the Grand Companies.
There must be another way to cure what ails this world, and I need to find it.
Back in Limsa, before I was even sworn into the Maelstrom ranks, I was asked to head out to Cedarwood to help some troubled airmen. When I arrived at the crash site, a big fellow was keeping watch on the airship as the Imperials checked it out. He accused me of being a spy, but someone in uniform quickly vouched for me. It turns out a little fella was hiding in the airship, and we had to perform a rescue. The Imperials brought out some massive metal magitech. We emerged victorious. The little fella said they'd be able to fix the ship, so I headed back to Limsa to finish my oath. I went back to the sands where Biggs and Wedge were waiting to say hello properly. They belong to the Garland Ironworks, who have agreed to share some Imperial-inspired magitech with Eorzea. There was also a note from the students of Baldesion, who have detected that the Sylphs in the Black Shroud seem to have been summoning their Primal Ramu. So I set off with Papalimo and Ida to see what they were up to. After bringing a gift and dancing a greeting, I met the Sylphs, little floating ones. Kamuxio told me they were worried about strange metal men in the forest. I did a bit of snooping and found an Imperial supply cache. Kamuxio thought that another one was in danger in the woods from touched ones, so we went on a rescue mission. Oh, and at this point, yes, I have learned to conjure the power of the elements while I've been in the Black Shroud. And then, after all the running around, Kamuxio admitted that the elder we needed to talk to had gone missing, so it was off to go and find him. I delivered an earring to a rat, and as a reward, I got to bring back some firewater for my new pal Bhaskaran. While I had been away, apparently someone had seen Sylphs in this part of the woods, which is very odd. But when I went looking for them, I only found Imperial troops, which surprised Bhaskaran even more. He suspected that they had a spy, which, given my experience with Ungust, sounded about right. I tracked him down, and after listening to his self-justifying speech about how money rules the world, he sprang the trap and a load of Guardians stepped out. However, they were no match for me and a handful of local poachers. We made the traitor see the error of his ways. As I was reporting to Bhaskaran, Noraxia came in to tell us that the Elder One Frixio had been chased into an abandoned dungeon complex by Imperial troops. There was no time to lose, so me and my eager pals jumped straight in. We made light work of the various beasties and bugs in the Danik dungeon and refused to be put off by the ominous notes left by previous explorers. Soon we were in the webby depths, and having fought off the last set of ferocious mites, I was suddenly confronted by our guy in the red mask. He introduced himself as Lahabrea and claimed to be the servant of the one true god.
I am Lahabrea of the Asians, servant to the one true god.
He said he was going to end my tale, but instead of fighting me himself, he set a giant mutant mite on us and teleported away. Needless to say, the big bug was no match for our party, and we emerged victorious. With the big bug in the bag, Frixio escaped from his webby bonds, and I saw an echo vision of Nero's visit to the home of the Sylphs and attempts to find the Primal Ramu. He was prattling about Garland and an ultimate weapon again. I'm sure this isn't good.